Support WrestleTalk!
What a historic episode of SmackDown Live! The Good Brothers, one of the Colognes, and Sanity all made it onto TV! Oh, and Kofi Kingston is going to WrestleMania, and Charlotte Flair tapped out Asuka to win the SmackDown Women's Championship 12 days before WrestleMania. Well, there's going to be a lot to talk about on the Wrestle Ramble, that's for sure. But what could the real reason behind Charlotte winning the title be? Click the timestamps in the video description to jump to any of those topics, and leave a comment down below to answer our question of the day. What would you like to see Asuka do next, now she's a former women's champion? I am Luke Owen. Click the eye above my head to let me know what you thought of the show, where you could choose from Smackdown, Smacktastic, Smack Bang in the Middle, Smackdowner, and a smack in the face. This is the 26th of March 2019 edition of SmackDown Live. The show opened with New Day coming out to talk about their social media chatter throughout the week of possibly quitting the company. But before they made their final choice, they wanted a word with Vince McMahon first. However, before Vince could speak, Daniel Bryan came out to call New Day a novelty act, one that can easily be replaced with NXT call-ups. I mean, that would make it sound like WWE would have a plan for NXT call-ups, and I don't think that's the aim at this point. After telling Bryan to shut up, Vince agreed with him that Kofi is a B+ player and asked if Xavier Woods and Big E were also a B+ tag team. Now, I might be reading too much into this, and it wouldn't be the first time, but I feel this is an important line and one we should remember at the end of this episode. Vince set up another gauntlet match for tonight, with Woods and Big E facing off against other tag teams to earn Kofi Kingston a WWE Championship match against Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. Everyone, including Vince, was wonderful in this segment, and they did a good job of continuing the Kofi Mania storyline. We've also had more gauntlet matches this year than Lacey Evans matches. A mystery blonde lady tried to interview Becky Lynch backstage, but she was quickly interrupted by Charlotte Flair's music in the arena. Flair cut a promo saying she isn't the third wheel in this WrestleMania match, and she would prove that by beating the current SmackDown Women's Champion Asuka, which was also randomly for the title. Well, this is a surprise. Can't wait to see how they're going to get out of this one. I mean, you do want to keep Flair strong heading into the main event of WrestleMania, but it would be very weird to take the title off Asuka just 12 days before the biggest show of the year. Oh, look at that, Charlotte won and she's now the SmackDown Women's Champion. And the main event of WrestleMania will now feature 2 titles. Huh. Look, don't get me wrong, this was a really great match that was filled with drama, thrills, chills, and indeed spills. And the crowd did explode when Flair won the title. But I can't help but feel bad for Asuka at this point. She won the title in December, beat Becky Lynch at the Royal Rumble, and then had nothing to do for weeks on end. She was a third wheel in the Sonya Deville-Mandy Rose tag split, and now she's lost her title just 12 days before WrestleMania. Asuka, I know you're not going to watch this video, but you deserve better. And before you could even catch your breath, Kurt Angle came out for a match against AJ Styles, which ended in a DQ when Randy Orton gave Styles an RKO from out of somewhere, and Kurt laid him out with an Angle slam. This was a very, very odd segment that didn't really further the Kurt Angle retirement tour, nor the AJ Randy feud, seen as though Orton was taken out by Angle. Very odd indeed. The Miz, on the other hand, came out to cut another great babyface promo, challenging Shane McMahon to a Falls Count Anywhere match at WrestleMania. Shane came out to answer the challenge, flanked by security guards and a goon squad made up of the brand-jumping Shelton Benjamin, Sanity, and one of the Colognes. Shane accepted Miz's challenge, and then said the biggest mistake Miz's father ever made was impregnating his mother. Miz lost his cool and charged through the security guards, wiped out Shelton Benjamin, and Epico? And then brawled with Sanity through the crowd. This was a really cool visual, and a Falls Count Anywhere stipulation for the Mania match is a really nice touch. Miz was a fantastic babyface in this segment. Although I do want to mention how crazy it is that all 4 members of Sanity are now on the main roster, and they've yet to actually team together. Iconics cut a cell phone promo that was, in a word, iconic! No, seriously though, it was awesome. And the main event of the show saw New Day run the tag team gauntlet to get Kofi Kingston his WWE Championship match against Daniel Bryan. Their first task was beating Gallows and Anderson very, very quickly, and then eliminated Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura shortly thereafter. In a nice mirror of last week's episode, the SmackDown babyfaces along with Kofi watched the action on a TV backstage, which elevated the drama of the match, which kicked into high gear when New Day faced the Bar next in a really decent outing. fine. The heels worked over both Woods and Big E before Xavier eventually rolled up Sheamus for the pin. A pissed off Bar then put Big E through a table, meaning New Day were at a major disadvantage when facing the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Usos. However, in a truly wonderful moment, one that really made this whole angle feel special, the Usos said that Kofi deserved this WWE Championship shot and therefore they forfeit their spot in the gauntlet. After freaking out in his locker room, it was announced that Daniel Bryan and Rowan would be the final tag team Big E and Woods had to face. This was packed with drama and amazing near falls, finally seeing New Day throw Rowan over the announcer's table with Big E burying him underneath it. With Rowan counted out, New Day won and Kofi Kingston is heading to WrestleMania, with the SmackDown babyfaces surrounding the ring to celebrate. This felt like real, raw emotion. Fellow wrestlers genuinely happy to see someone who has worked as hard as Kofi has finally get his WrestleMania moment, which is seemingly now official, with WWE.com listing the match and their own Twitter account saying it will happen. However, when Caleb Braxton interviewed Vince McMahon backstage, he said Kofi Kingston is going to WrestleMania, but the question is, can a B-plus player beat the WWE champion? And remember that Vince also called Woods and Big E B-plus players earlier in the night. So maybe next week we'll get a card subject to change with more shenanigans in this tale. I'm really torn on this episode. While it was far from perfect, I did like a lot of the New Day stuff, and that Miz segment was awesome. And there are still questions going into next week's show, which does make me want to watch it. And crucially, it made me want to see WrestleMania next Sunday. But I am so befuddled by this Asuka situation. It was unpredictable, and sometimes that can be a good thing, but it just sucks that Asuka was never given a chance with the championship. And now she's left with even less to do at WrestleMania than last week. With that said, I cannot overlook the great New Day stuff on this show. And on that basis alone, this week's SmackDown Live is smacktastic. Let's say it's a low smacktastic. And now over to Ollie Davis with what possibly could be the real reason Charlotte won the SmackDown Live Women's Championship.
Great review, Luke, and absolutely insane booking, WWE. It sure was a jam-packed rollercoaster episode of SmackDown. So let's get on to the most controversial, talked about surprise of the night. Oney Lorcan just officially joined the 205 Live roster. Yeah. NXT's Oney Lorcan. Good for him. Lorcan made his 205 Live debut back on the 5th of March, losing to Cedric Alexander in the semi-final of the #1 Contenders tournament for Buddy Murphy's Cruiserweight title. 205 Live General Manager Drake Maverick confirmed last night, though, that Lorcan will wrestle for both NXT and 205 Live going forward, because authority figures aren't a thing anymore. In lesser, more obscure news, Charlotte beat Asuka last night to become the new SmackDown Women's Champion. Wait, what? Just earlier in the day, all three participants in the now official main event of WrestleMania, Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch and Charlotte, appeared on ESPN to hype their match, for which Lynch provided some totally 100% true, Fakador-approved name-bar screenshots. Charlotte Flair, Ric Flair's daughter, handed everything. Ronda Rousey, Paul Heyman's daughter, is whiny. Becky Lynch did it by herself, is the man. Becky's criticism of Charlotte being handed everything isn't just an emotional observation, though. It's backed up by numbers, as Flair's title win on last night's SmackDown was actually astoundingly her first victory on WWE TV or pay-per-view in 2019 so far. Yeah, Charlotte hadn't won any of her 4 matches this year before last night, and Vince McMahon still randomly entered her in the WrestleMania match, because authority figures aren't a thing anymore. But Charlotte has now traded that stat for another, as her most recent title win means she's not only a 3-time SmackDown Women's Champion, but also the holder of the most women's titles in WWE history, with 8 reigns. 95% of those presumably coming from her feud with Sasha Banks in 2016. Charlotte put over Asuka in her celebration tweet. What a heel. This one means a lot. Number 8. Thank you, Asuka, the most talented woman I've ever shared the ring with. But a few other SmackDown women weren't weren't so happy. The Charlotte vs. Asuka match and Flair's subsequent title win appears to have been a very late change in the day, as up until just several hours before the show, WWE were advertising a fatal four-way between Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Naomi and Carmella to crown the #1 contender for Asuka's title at WrestleMania. On realizing both the SmackDown match and their chances at a non-women's battle royal appearance at WrestleMania had been scrapped, Rose tweeted, "Putting all the equity in the wrong blonde. Eyes looking around up my head emoji. Hashtag shake my head. Hashtag God's greatest creation. Hashtag SmackDown Live." And Carmella just consoled herself with, "Push through. Dance break." Not now, R-Truth. Not now. Dave Meltzer has confirmed how late in the day plans were changed for Charlotte winning the title. Reporting on Wrestling Observer Radio, this decision was made last minute. It was literally made this morning. But what are the reasons behind it? As the decision came barely 24 hours after WWE confirmed the women's triple threat would main event WrestleMania, the renewed focus on the match likely prompted Vince to add in another belt to make it even more of a spectacle. Just like how Goldberg won the Universal Championship heading into his WrestleMania 33 match with Brock Lesnar in 2017. Also, Meltzer speculates, Becky pointed out in her ESPN appearance earlier that day that while Ronda is bringing the Raw Championship to the match, there's no reason for Charlotte to be there, with still no full storyline explanation for why McMahon added her to the match last month. By putting the SmackDown belt on Flair, it retroactively justifies the triple threat. Meltzer has also speculated that incorporating the SmackDown women's belt into the main event could be to cut down the reported 17 planned match WrestleMania card to a far snappier 16. But what will happen with both titles now they're in the main event? Nothing was fully explained on SmackDown, as WWE likely don't really know themselves yet, with Meltzer reporting everything in this program has been shifted or changed. But Cageside Seats are claiming the early speculation is that the winner at WrestleMania will unify both titles, combining the Raw and SmackDown's women's belts, which would allow the company's top star, Becky Lynch, to jump between brands in the wake of Rousey reportedly leaving after Mania. Speaking of Becky, find out the huge update on her WWE future clicking the video on the right. And WrestleTalk and Screenstalker are one big happy YouTube family now. Subscribe to Screenstalker clicking the button down there, as I'll be hosting the movie news on Friday. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was wrestling.